To get useful results in statistics, samples need to be what's called representative, meaning that they accurately represent the population they were drawing from. So specifically, a representative sample has the same characteristics in the same proportions as the population it's drawing from. So for example, if 52% of the population is going to vote for candidate A in the next election, then if we take a sample, 52% of that sample ought to be voting for that candidate in the next election, that kind of thing. This is really important because we use samples to estimate things about the population. Like, for example, what's the mean income in Oakland? If I only ask people living in the rich areas of Oakland, that's not a representative sample. I'm taking too many or too great a proportion of people from rich areas. And so if I just ask those people, then I'm going to get a very wrong picture of the average income in the city. It's going to be much too high because I'm just asking rich people and I'm not asking everybody else. So a biased sample is the opposite of a representative sample. And that just means that it overrepresents or underrepresents part of the population. So representative samples, good. Biased samples, bad. In statistics, it really is a case of garbage in, garbage out. You can do all your statistics right, but if you have a bad sample in the first place, then it's just garbage. So one thing that's really, really important, samples must be representative. Or conclusions drawn from them won't be accurate. Excuse me. Generally, finding a way to randomly pick people from the population is the best way to get a sample, a representative sample, just because everyone has an equal chance of being picked. So it shouldn't overrepresent or underrepresent a group. So let's do some examples. And for each of the following scenarios, we want to know, is the sample representative? If not, fix it. So for our first scenario, the question that we're interested in is, how will the entire country vote on election day? And the sample that we choose is 20 of my Republican relatives in Michigan. So is that representative? And if it's not, then we need to fix it. So to be a representative sample, it needs to have the same characteristics and the same proportion of the population it's drawing from, and it should not overrepresent or underrepresent part of the population. Now, if I'm only asking Republicans how they're going to vote, then I'm overrepresenting Republicans, because not the entire country is composed of Republicans. And if I'm only asking people in Michigan, well, then I'm overrepresenting people from Michigan and I'm underrepresenting everybody else. So this is not representative. This is a biased sample. We can fix it by randomly choosing likely voters all over the country. So not just Republicans and not just people in Michigan. So for our second question or example, let's say the question is, how satisfied are Wilson Prep families with the school? And the way I do the sample is I give my advisees a survey to have their parents fill out. So once again, we're looking, are we overrepresenting or underrepresenting part of the population? Well, in this case, I'm just asking my advisees. My advisees' families. I'm not looking at any of the other grade levels in the school, so I would get a sense of what my advisees' parents think, but not what the whole population of families at Wilson Prep thinks. So this is also biased. And we can fix it by choosing families at random from, say, the emergency contact cards that we get for the retreat, because that's all of the families in the school pretty much, provided everybody turns in their emergency cards. And if we just randomly choose people, then we have an equal chance of picking people from different grade levels, equal chance of picking people from different genders, different advisories. Everybody's got pretty much an equal chance of being picked. For our last one, let's say the question is, how satisfied are Oakland parents with their school system? And for a sample, we go to a singles bar and ask random people what they think of their neighborhood schools. Now, don't be fooled by this word random. We are indeed picking random people, but we're picking the wrong set of random people. We are in a singles bar. There are probably a lot of Oakland parents who are not going to go to a singles bar. And so what we want to make sure is we want to make sure that all of the parents in Oakland have a chance of being picked. So what would be a better thing to do is randomly pick families with children who are in Oakland and then ask those parents, making sure that we have a chance to pick any parent in Oakland. a bunch of the people in a singles bar probably don't have kids too. So it's really both underrepresenting the families that actually have children and overrepresenting the ones that don't.